and to try to answer some questions that you all submitted to Claudia, Tiffany, and Sarah. And if some of you want to submit questions, there still is time. And the idea is Sarah will pick up the index cards. And the idea is to have a guided conversation and to try to bring all of these topics, so commons, enclosures, commoning, and mutual aid, and all the different topics that we try to address in this long day, together and to complete the conversation in a meaningful way. So many of the questions that we have received so far were related to, well, maybe we should start with more general ones. And the nature of the commons. One of the questions, actually probably 3 or 4 people, asked about the famous argument, and most of these were directed to Peter, but I think that anybody could answer. What is the argument of the tragedy of the commons? And does it still make sense to speak of tragedy of the commons? And why is that so many people on the TV, that was the question, and radio and the different newspapers are still speaking of tragedy of the commons as it is a fact? So maybe we can start with that. And I will pass the microphone to Peter.
And Peter brings you the tragedy of the commons. Oh, yeah. Let me take you back to Oxford University. Situ in a special study at Balliol College. Well, there's a mathematician at work by the name of Lloyd. Lloyd is dead. No, I should stop this. Because I haven't worked it out. But I did speak to a performance artist earlier, and I just thought, oh man, I gotta loosen up here. But because I'm, yeah, I got the microphone. Yeah, no, the tragedy of the commons says, this was Garrett Hardin. He was a biologist in 1968 in the magazine Science. He published this article, and I'm sure many of the panelists know this very well. Ignacio should really be here because you remember Ignacio spoke of the fortress of ideology, and Garrett Hardin has really introduced an ideology that combined utilitarianism, free enterprise, and the individual cell. Do you remember that in Ignacio's talk? The individualist cell that is our determination of all our behavior. Pretty easy idea. And that was what Hardin said. Well, take a commons, and everybody can go there and put their cow on it to graze. But then why not put 2 cows on, huh? And then I'll have 2 cows, but you'll have 1. But then you'll say you'll put 2 on as well. And before you know it, the grass is all gone and all the cows die. That's the fable. That's the tragedy of the commons. Later, this guy Garrett Hardin apologized because that's not a commons. That's a free access, free-for-all. Throughout human history, now speaking really straight, human beings have found ways to work with one another and to share the land. And in pastoral societies, whether it's Kurdistan or the Swat Valley in northern Pakistan, or between the Tigris and Euphrates rivers, or in Ireland or in England, institutions were developed to govern the commons. And our man Garrett Hardin didn't know this. But I began with this phony thing about England because Garrett Hardin stole his argument from that mathematician back in 1832. 1832 was a year of tremendous riots, but around Balliol College there were 5 villages. And these villagers were commoners, and they didn't want their land enclosed. I forget the names of them. Otmore was the name of one of them. And it was a marsh and wetlands. And the people who lived there were thought by straight people to be web-footed. That has nothing to do with anything. Except the particularities of the human beings in relationship to their ecology, as others thought. The land was enclosed owing to the police from London, the new Police Act. Anyway, I can really go into this story at length, but it's the thing I want to say here in California, where Garrett Hardin was he took this argument from this encloser, this academician, who was writing on behalf of the enclosures, and to this day, colleges at Oxford, their endowment comes from the theft of the land of those 5 commons. There's a case where I can name the thieves. Oxford University, Balliol College. Justice is yet to be served. Is that right?
I think so.
What? Yes, thank you. Thank you.